Project MKUltra was an illegal, top-secret human experimentation program conducted by the Central Intelligence Agency between 1953 and 1973. The core objective of the project was to develop scientific procedures and identify specific drugs that could be used to secretly alter, control, and manipulate human behavior. The agency specifically intended to conduct these experiments through the covert administration of physiologically active materials to unwitting subjects. These administrative goals reclassified the human mind, treating it as an operational theater for military advancement rather than a private, individual domain. During the early Cold War, the United States government harbored deep fears that the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea had developed advanced mind control and brainwashing techniques against U.S. prisoners of war. To ensure the nation did not fall behind in this technological race, the CIA decided to weaponize the psyche for its own interrogations and covert operations. The program was officially launched on April 13, 1953, authorized at the highest levels by CIA Director Allen Dulles. The program's operational head, chemist Sidney Gottlieb, was granted the authority to steer the scientific direction of these experiments. This intense national security paranoia served as the rationale for bypassing traditional medical ethics, establishing a massive domestic infrastructure for illegal testing. The MKUltra architecture was designed as a massive, decentralized network to hide its true origins under the guise of legitimate academic research. The CIA funded over 150 subprojects within 80 civilian institutions, including universities, hospitals, and prisons. They used front organizations like the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology to secretly funnel grant money to researchers who had no knowledge of the agency's involvement. The most severe experiments specifically targeted vulnerable populations, such as inmates, sex workers, and terminally ill patients who lacked the power to advocate for themselves. Informed consent is similar to signing a legal contract for a job, where both parties must be fully aware of the rules, the risks, and the compensation before proceeding. By ignoring this ethical contract, the CIA transformed civilian medical infrastructure into a covert testing ground, stripping subjects of their fundamental human rights. The program focused on specific methods of manipulation, utilizing lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD, as its primary chemical weapon. The CIA sought to weaponize LSD as a truth serum, capable of breaking down the psychological defenses of suspected Soviet spies during interrogations. They tested the drug's efficacy by covertly dosing unwitting civilians to observe their natural reactions to the intense hallucinogen. In Operation Midnight Climax, the CIA established several brothels inside agency safe houses in San Francisco to conduct these experiments. Unwitting men were lured to these locations, secretly dosed with LSD, and interrogated while agents observed and filmed them from behind one-way mirrors. The CIA systematically weaponized civilian environments, turning everyday urban spaces into unregulated laboratories for chemical warfare. Under Subproject 68, the CIA exported psychological experiments to Canada to explore even more extreme forms of behavioral modification. Scottish psychiatrist Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron led this research at the Allen Memorial Institute of McGill University in Montreal. Cameron believed he could cure schizophrenia by erasing a patient's existing memories and reprogramming their psyche from scratch. During depatterning, Cameron used drug-induced sleep and extreme electroconvulsive therapy to wipe the brain blank, like erasing a hard drive. To install a new identity, psychic driving was used. Drugged patients were forced to listen to continuous, looped audio messages for days on end. Subproject 68 represented the ultimate violation of individual sovereignty, attempting to overwrite human consciousness to serve state utility. The victims of these unconsenting experiments suffered severe physical and psychological consequences. Long-term effects included permanent retrograde amnesia, severe trauma, and a complete impairment in the ability to perform everyday life skills. Case Study 2 involves Dr. Frank Olson, a U.S. Army biochemist and biological weapons researcher who worked closely with the CIA. In 1953, Olson was covertly dosed with LSD during a CIA retreat. He suffered a severe psychological breakdown and died days later after falling from the 13th floor of a hotel. These actions were a direct violation of the Nuremberg Code, the international medical ethics standard established after World War II, outlawing non-consensual human experimentation. The quest for mind control led the CIA to commit the exact type of atrocities that the post-war international community had sworn to prevent. By the early 1970s, public scrutiny of intelligence agencies was mounting, alongside the Watergate scandal. Project MKUltra officially ended in 1973 as the risk of exposure became too great for the agency to manage. Then CIA Director Richard Helms responded by ordering an immediate cover-up of the program's activities. Helms ordered the total destruction of all MKUltra files in a deliberate attempt to erase the 20-year program from historical and legal records. This destruction of evidence hampered early investigative efforts, forcing congressional committees to rely almost entirely on the sworn testimony of participants. The agency's internal architecture shielded MKUltra from both foreign intelligence services and the domestic oversight structures mandated by the American democratic system. The program was first exposed to the public in 1975 through the investigations of the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission. The findings were grave. President Gerald Ford was forced to personally apologize to the Olson family and pay a massive settlement for wrongful death. A breakthrough occurred in 1977, revealed during Senate hearings by the Director of Central Intelligence, Admiral Stansfield Turner. Turner discovered that roughly 20,000 pages of MKUltra financial records had survived the destruction order because they had been incorrectly stored in an alternate record center. These financial receipts served as a forensic map, allowing investigators to trace funding back to front organizations and reverse engineer the scope of the experiments. A bureaucratic filing error unraveled a 2-decade-long conspiracy, proving that institutional cover-ups remain vulnerable to their own paper trails. The exposure of these abuses led directly to the creation of permanent congressional committees to oversee and restrict intelligence activities. Despite 20 years of research and millions of dollars spent, the CIA never successfully developed a reliable truth serum or achieved perfect mind control. Project MKUltra stands as a permanent historical warning of what occurs when a government prioritizes Cold War paranoia over fundamental human rights.